Are you ready for some history? I am. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Culture Cafe, a weekly rundown of history of literary, film, and music history. This go around is for week August 3rd. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. If you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button. You'll be happy you did. For that matter, I'll be happy as well. There are all kinds of history today to talk about for this week, from Tarzan to Thoreau, Louis Armstrong to John Huston, and of course, a lot more. So have a seat, pour yourself a cup of coffee if it's not too late in the day, and let's jump in. August 3rd, 1926 marks the birthday of actor Gordon Scott, known for being one of many actors who portrayed Tarzan the ape man. In fact, he starred in 6 Tarzan movies from 1955 to 1960. In his 5th film as the Lord of the Jungle, Tarzan's Greatest Adventure, Scott's Tarzan broke away from the me Tarzan, you Jane mold of Johnny Weissmuller's Tarzan. Scott's Tarzan spoke in complete and grammatically correct sentences. At that time, this was closer to Edgar Rice Burroughs' version of Tarzan, who was much more than a grunting monosyllabic humanoid as portrayed by Johnny Weissmuller. August 3rd, 1861, Charles Dickens published his last installment of Great Expectations. The novel was originally published in 9 monthly serials in the publication Harper's Weekly. Each section was met with extremely positive reviews from critics and general readers alike. Today, it stands out as one of Dickens's most important novels and has never been out of print. August 3rd, 1969, Creedence Clearwater Revival released their 3rd studio album and first U.S. #1 album, Green River. It was the second of 3 albums they released that year, the first one being Bayou Country, and the third, Willie and the Poor Boys. The album featured the title track and Bad Moon Rising, both of which were major hits in the U.S. August 4th, 1901, renowned trumpeter Louis Armstrong is born in New Orleans, Louisiana. He was among the most influential figures in jazz. His career spanned 5 decades and several eras in the history of jazz. Armstrong received numerous accolades, including the Grammy Award for Best Male Vocal Performance for Hello Dolly in 1965, as well as a posthumous win for the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 1972. Armstrong came to prominence in the 1920s as an inventive trumpet and cornet player. He was an foundational influence in jazz, shifting the focus of the music from collective improvisation to solo performance. August 4th, 1913, poet Robert Hayden was born in Detroit, Michigan. He served as consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress from 1976 to 1978, a role today known as the U.S. Poet Laureate. He was the first African American writer to hold the office. Robert Hayden died February 25th, 1980, at the age of 66. In 2012, the U.S. Postal Service issued a chain of stamps featuring 10 great 20th century American poets, which included Hayden. August 5th, 1850, writer Guy de Maupassant was born in Normandy region. He was a 19th century French author, celebrated as a master of the short story, as well as a representative of the naturalist school, depicting human lives, destinies, and social forces in disillusioned and often pessimistic terms. Maupassant was a protege of Gustave Flaubert, and his stories are characterized by economy of style and efficient, seemingly effortless denouement. Many are set during the Franco Prussian War of the 1870s, describing the futility of war and the innocent civilians who, caught up in the events beyond their control, are permanently changed by their experiences. He wrote 300 short stories, 6 novels, 3 travel books, and 1 volume of verse. His first published story, Boule de Suif, translated as The Dumpling, literally translated as Ball of Fat, is often considered his most famous work. August 5th, 1906 marks the birthday of actor and director John Huston. He was an American film director, screenwriter, and actor. He wrote the screenplays for most of the 37 feature films he directed, many of which today are considered classics. He received numerous accolades, including 2 Academy Awards and 3 Golden Globe Awards. He also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1960 and the BAFTA Fellowship in 1980. Son of actor Walter Houston, he studied and worked as a fine art painter in Paris. He then moved to Mexico and began writing first plays and short stories, and later working in Los Angeles as a Hollywood screenwriter. He was nominated for several Academy Awards writing for films directed by William Dieterle and Howard Hawks, among others. His directorial debut came with, of course, The Maltese Falcon in 1941, which, despite a small budget, became a commercial and critical hit. He continued to be successful, if iconoclastic, Hollywood director for the next 45 years. Houston directed acclaimed films such as The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, Key Largo, The Asphalt Jungle, and The African Queen, as well as many, many others. August 5th, 1953 marks the premiere of the film From Here to Eternity. It is an American romantic war drama film directed by Fred Zinnemann and written by Daniel Haradash, based on the 1951 novel of the same name by James Jones. It deals with the tribulations of three United States Army soldiers, played by Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and Frank Sinatra, stationed on Hawaii in the months leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Deborah Kerr and Donna Reed portray the women in their lives. The supporting cast included Ernest Borgnine, Jack Warden, Claude Akins, and George Reeves. It won 8 Academy Awards out of 13 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director for Fred Zinnemann, Adapted Screenplay. Frank Sinatra received Best Supporting Actor, and Donna Reed took home the award for Best Supporting Actress. The film's title originates from Rudyard Kipling's 1892 poem Gentlemen Rankers, about soldiers of the British Empire who had, quote, lost their way, unquote, and were, quote, damned from here to eternity. In 2002, From Here to Eternity was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Looks like August 5th has been a popular day this week. August 5th, 1966, the Beatles released their 7th studio album, Revolver, in the United Kingdom. Long considered to be one of the greatest albums in pop music, Revolver featured such stylistic diverse songs as Eleanor Rigby and Tomorrow Never Knows. Days later, the album was released in the US, where it eventually received a 5-time platinum certification by the Recording Industry Association of America. August 6, 1637, English playwright, poet, and critic Ben Jonson died in London. Jonson lived as a contemporary of Shakespeare, but eventually rose to be a favorite of King James I and a royal patron of the monarch. His poetry and plays are still taught in English classes around the world today. August 6, 1928 marks the birthday of American visual artist, film director, and producer Andy Warhol, the founder of the pop art movement. He produced and managed the Velvet Underground, designing the 1967 Velvet Underground and Nico Peeled Banana album cover and the Rolling Stones Sticky Fingers album cover. Some of his best known works include the silkscreen paintings of Campbell's Soup Cans, 1962, and the Maryland Diptych, 1962 as well, and the experimental film Chelsea Girls, 1966. Warhol died aged 58 following gallbladder surgery at New York Hospital in Manhattan on February 22, 1987. Reportedly, he had been making a good recovery from the surgery before dying in his sleep at 6:32 a.m. from sudden post-operative cardiac arrhythmia. August 6, 1963, Bob Dylan entered Columbia Recording Studios to begin recording his legendary third album, The Times They Are A-Changin', with producer Tom Wilson. The record would be Dylan's first to be comprised of solely original compositions. The album consists mostly of stark, sparsely arranged ballads concerning issues such as racism, poverty, and social change. The title track is one of Dylan's most famous. Many feel that it captures the spirit of social and political upheaval that characterized the 60s. Some critics and fans were not quite as taken with the album as a whole relative to previous work for its lack of humor or musical diversity. Still, The Times They Are A-Changin' peaked at number 20 on the US chart, eventually going gold and belatedly reaching number 4 in the UK in 1965. My thought is that this is the first album where Dylan becomes a singer-songwriter in his own right. Although you can still hear Woody Guthrie's influence, The songs in The Times They Are a Changin' are less imitative than what was on his first two albums. August 7th, 1958, pianist Thelonious Monk records live at the Five Spot. The two resulting live albums were Mysterioso and Thelonious in Action. Other personnel on both the albums include Johnny Griffith on tenor sax, Ahmed Abdul Malik on bass, and Roy Haynes on drums. August 8th, 1818, 22-year-old John Keats returned home from a 2-month walking tour of Scotland showing the early symptoms of tuberculosis, then known as consumption, which would take his life 3 years later. It is conjectured that Keats contracted the disease after caring for his brother Tom, who also had the disease. August 8th, 1907, Vinnie Carter was born in New York, New York. He was an American jazz saxophonist, clarinetist, trumpeter, composer, arranger, and band leader. With Johnny Hodges, he was a pioneer on the alto saxophone. From the beginning of his career in the 1920s, he worked as an arranger, including written charts for Fletcher Henderson's big band that shaped the swing style. He had an unusually long career that lasted into the 90s. During the 1980s and 90s, he was nominated for 8 Grammy Awards, which included receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. He's one of the few musicians who have recorded in 8 different decades. Other characteristics of his career was its versatility as musician, band leader, arranger, and composer. He helped define the sound of alto saxophone, but he also performed and recorded on soprano saxophone, tenor saxophone, trumpet, trombone, clarinet, and piano. That's pretty diverse. Carter died at the age of 95 in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center on July 12th of 2003 from complications of bronchitis. I would say that he had a long and rewarding life. August 9th, 1854, Henry David Thoreau published his transcendentalist work on self-reliance, Walden, reflecting on the 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days spent living in isolation near Walden's Pond near Concord, Massachusetts. Although the publication was a slow success, it now stands as one of America's most celebrated works of literature. Thoreau makes precise scientific observations of nature as well as metaphorical and poetic uses of natural phenomena. He identifies many plants and animals by both their popular and scientific names, records in detail the color and clarity of different bodies of water, and describes the freezing and thawing of the pond and recounts his experiments to measure the depth and shape of the bottom of the supposedly bottomless Walden Pond. By immersing himself in nature, Thoreau hoped to gain a more objective understanding of society through introspection. Simple living and self-sufficiency were Thoreau's other goals. The whole project was inspired by the transcendentalist philosophy, a central theme of American Romantic period. This has been Culture Cafe for the week of August 3rd. Thank you so much for watching. You enjoy my week. If you enjoy my weekly jaunts through history, please subscribe to the channel. I will be back next week with more. My sources for this video were litandmore.com, wikipedia.org, and thisdayinmusic.com. As always, please support your local independent bookstore and your local library. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you find some good books to read, and maybe learn something new. Until next week, see you later.